I would be doing spiritual counseling in the living room and tarot readings in the kitchen. And so
Wow.
I said, I need to bring them together. So in 2009, I created my first business, kind of thing as tarot life coach. And so I started bringing both things together. So supporting people with tarot as a spiritual tool and with spiritual counseling. And so then in 2000, that was in 2009. And then 3 years later, I
Mm.
was selected to go to Europe and participate in the International Psychic Challenge.
Wow.
They found my videos. I used to do these weekly tarot videos, which I will be bringing back soon. Um, they found me doing these weekly tarot readings and invited me to be on this TV show. And Verona, I had never seen anything like that in my life. Okay, because I was a single mom at 19. I lived at that time in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and moved my daughter and I to going
No,
to
no,
this.
internet.
Yeah. Oh, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, good. I thought it cut
Yeah.
out. It's
No,
just gone a
no.
bit slow, but good. Perfect.
Uh,
Good, good, good.
yeah. So I went to Kiev, Ukraine. And let me
Wow.
tell you, when I saw there was like over 5,000 people, and I was like, oh my God. Now, the backstory to that, to this going to Europe, let me tell you, I was living in Key West, Florida. I was working as a busboy because at the restaurant where I wanted to go, they had no openings, but I knew I needed a place to stay. And so they said, well, we can let you be a busboy. I was 40 years old. I had a master's degree in library science. I was educated, and I was a busboy in a restaurant. And I said, okay, Spirit, if this is what you're having me do now, I can do it for a little bit. So I did it.
Wow.
And then I started waitressing at another restaurant, and then I was hostessing. So I had three jobs. Plus, I still had my tarot clients, and I got selected to go participate on this TV show. And it was one of the most life-changing experiences of my life because we went from like 5,000 to like 3,000 and then 1,000 and then 500. I mean, it just kept narrowing down. And then they were asking me, would you like to stay and compete? And I was like, yeah, either I go back to waitressing and cleaning toilets or I
Yeah.
stay and be on this TV show. And so after living in Kiev, Ukraine for 9 months, after
Wow.
going through all those people, it was down to six people. And I was voted number three psychic in the world on their
Wow. That
TV
is
show.
impressive.
Yeah,
Goodness.
it was incredible. It was
What kind
incredible.
of things do they have you do?
All kinds of crazy things. So they would put us out in the forest, tell us find our way back. They would say, look at this picture, what happened to this person. They would have us we had one episode where we were told to that all these different people from all over the world had something in common. What was it? The
Wow.
thing was their insides were turned in, their hearts were on the other side. So they had their organs were switched. So
Wow.
we had, and nobody, they wouldn't tell us anything about what it was with these people. And I said, I can tell their hearts are on the wrong side. They didn't
Wow.
tell us anything about them. They just said,
Wow.
you won't know anything about all these people. And I don't know, spirit just told me there. And I said, um, this was definitely their hearts were on the wrong side. Their organs were on the wrong side. And so
Wow.
it was that kind of thing. I see somebody here with this comment. The show is in Ukrainian. And so that's why it's hard to find. But I have some clips. So I will
I
be
want to see
sharing
that
some
show
clips.
too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
I have my idea. That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
I had a translator, so I always spoke in English, and they translated it into Ukrainian. So you can hear me speaking, but you have to listen
Yeah.
over the Ukrainian. But yeah, and it's been
Wow.
syndicated all over Europe. I have had people from all over Europe contacting me. Oh my God, I saw you on the International Psychic Challenge. You were my favorite. And so I'll have to
Wow.
share some clips with you because I do have quite a few.
That's absolutely phenomenal. Like, well done to you. I mean, to those odds to get down to the final, what did you actually make the final three? It's in rated number third from 5,000 people. It's like unbelievable. But there's a question I have to ask because you said you started doing tarot. How old were you when you started that?
Well, I really started tarot for myself when I was like 13 years old, but
Wow.
professionally for other people, I didn't start until I want to say in my late 30s because I didn't think I knew what I was talking about. Of course, for myself, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the right answer, because it's what I want to hear. But it wasn't until I started doing readings for friends and then they were like, oh my God, you've got to do it for my other friends. And then I was like, am I telling people the right thing? Kind
So
of
did
thing.
you
'Cause
ever have any sort of psychic experiences in childhood? Was there any sort of clues from then?
I did. I used to have dreams. I used to have connections. But the thing was, I was told that I was crazy. I was told that I was making it up. My grandmother and my mother, they always were like, oh my God, she's making up her stories again. Because I used to read like crazy, which is why I became a librarian. And so they thought that, I was reading too many, out there books. And so I was making things up. But I used to really, sitting in nature was my thing. And I would just hear things and hear spirit speaking to me. And so, again, as a child, I thought it was totally normal. It was once I started telling the adults and they told me I was crazy. And then I was like, am I crazy? Is something wrong with me? Other people can't hear this. And so I really started questioning myself, my sanity, am I normal? Am I strange? And so I didn't trust myself with the tarot. It wasn't until my deeper spiritual practice that I was guided that this is your gift. You are here to share this gift with the world and especially your brothers and sisters because it has been stolen from us and recreated in so many different ways that everybody's always asking, where does tarot come from? And so people have, it's from Europe, it's from Italy, it's from there. Tarot was and is an initiation tool from our brothers and sisters, from Kemetic to all of the ancient African, Egyptian experience. I don't know what's the right word to put there, but it was definitely created for the initiates because they couldn't put it on paper. They were always stealing the scrolls. And so they put it on these little small pieces of paper in their pocket so nobody would be trying to steal it. Oh, what are these signs and symbols? Oh, that's just nothing. And so they created the tarot as a way for us, as the initiates of those who were on a higher spiritual level, to connect and understand. Oh, okay, so I'm going on a journey. I'm going to experience something. It was a way for you to listen to what your soul was saying. It truly is a tool for you to connect to your higher self. It wasn't actually until they started sharing it as gypsies. The word gypsy is all it is the E taken off of Egypt, out of Egyptian. If you look at the word gypsy, it says Egypt right there. They just took the E off. And so they brought it to Europe, they brought it to Italy, and then they said, oh, what did they always say about gypsies? Gypsies are horrible. Gypsies are thieves. Gypsies are all these different things. And so that's what they've always told us is that it was bad. And then
Mm.
they took it and turned it into Tarachi in the Italian word. And then they got it to Europe and the Europeans turned it into tarot.
Very good,
But
actually. That's a very good one.
mhm,
That's very interesting because, as we can see across the African continent, divination comes in multiple different forms. And obviously, that's just
everywhere.
one expression of many. And by even having divination in your life, as you said, it brings you kind of closer to your own spiritual essence because it makes you realize everything is within and your interpretation of these symbolic messages outside of you help you to receive that guidance. So that's beautiful. You can see that in your case, doing the tarot opened up what was already inside you to strengthen your own development. So that's fantastic.
Yes, yes. And this is how I teach it. I don't teach it as a fortune telling tool. I teach it as a spiritual practice. And
Mm.
I want more and more people because especially now what we're going through, and people are looking at religion and these different ideologies. of finding themselves, but you can only find yourself in yourself. You know, you're not going to find it out there. And tarot is the tool that allows you to look within and really see what is your soul, what is your spirit trying to tell you. So I teach, you know, tarot as a spiritual practice, as a meditation tool, as a prayer tool, as a mantra, because that's truly what it is. It is here to support us, and it always has.
And how has your life changed since becoming more in tune with your own gifts and acknowledging them rather than trying to suppress them?
Oh, sister, thank you so much for asking. So, I used to be an everyday drinker. I used to smoke cigarettes. I used to smoke marijuana. I, you know, every little thing, I used to do it all the time. And my life has changed completely. Spirit said, you know, you have a gift. You have to focus on that. Get rid of all those things, all those outside worldly things that have kept you. Even wearing jewelry, you know, now I only wear my beads, where before it was all about the adoration of this physical experience. And now Spirit says, whatever you need comes from nature. You know, I've got my eucalyptus here, and I'm not saying that those things are bad, because that would be a judgment. But what it's taught me is to love myself and to not allow outside influences to shape me or make me. It's really allowed me to, you know, eat more organically and plant-based. It's taught me to listen to myself and not anybody else's voice, you know, even though of course I'm human, I make mistakes, but it's really been a just the biggest healing of my life. Truly, truly. It's improved my relationships with my daughter, with my husband. I was single. I was single, and I was, you know, praying, oh, please bring me somebody, you know. But Spirit said it's not until you are ready, until you have had a level of healing within yourself. Don't take all your garbage to somebody else. Don't keep looking for somebody else to lay your garbage on. Heal you.
Yeah.
Heal you.
Agree, 100%. Exactly, exactly. And so, sorry to pry, but I feel like we're having an open discussion, so I feel like
Yes,
I'm
yes, yes.
necessary. So you mentioned that there was like excessive drinking and smoking. Were you consciously aware? Were you trying to cover something? Was there something you were trying to, to not feel the emotions of it or so?
Absolutely. I had sexual abuse in my childhood. I came from a very dysfunctional family. No father, a mother who was completely ignored me, and all different types of things. Also a single mother. And I just wanted to escape. I wanted to
Mm,
get out of my experience because I was in so much inner pain. And again, it was the tarot, it was spiritual practice, spiritual connection to my ancestors that taught me there's nothing to hide. We gave you that wound for your wisdom, for you to decide this is the path to walk. So I could support other women who have had this experience, and men. And since then, it seems that everybody I come to has had some type of physical, sexual, emotional abuse and are looking for healing. But I can't be
mm.
a healer until I heal her.
Yes. Wow, that was 100%. Everything you said was just wow, very powerful. And I felt that there was a reason why the drinking and everything was there. And it's funny because even in our documentary, Sabon Fusome says the exact same
Yes.
thing, that our
Yes.
wounds come to teach us, or to remind us of our purpose and why we're here. And I think you've explained it perfectly well, that you took your own trauma, learned to heal and work through it as a way to enable you to help other people who've been through the same. And I think there's a lot of power in being honest in our own circumstances. Because as you said, some people hide it out of shame and fear. And by doing that, it's like we kind of take on this unnecessary energy that we shouldn't feel the need to. There shouldn't be no shame. There's no shame. But by you being open and expressing, you release that and you let it go, and you allow that to now transform into a whole different energy, which actually I can see for you has been very empowering, because I think everything you stand for is empowerment and very much
Absolutely.
about self-realization as well. And so Thank you for sharing and just kind of, bringing that awareness for people as well. It's wonderful.
And Verona, it was my biggest shame. It was absolutely, and I didn't want anybody to know. But Spirit said, if you keep it inside, that's where it will be. It will
Yeah,
die in you. Your
yeah.
dreams will too, because if
Wow.
and this, so many people, there's this talk about your shadow, and you got to get rid of it. You have to balance them. You have to recognize that there is a balance. And I would have never thought in a million years that I would be telling people on a live stream that I was sexually abused. And
Yeah.
because it was my shame. It was absolutely my shame. And one of my spiritual teachers is Mary Magdalene. And she was the shamed woman, right? So she was the shamed woman. And yet, and she was called the prostitute and all these different things. And yet she walked with dignity towards Spirit, and Spirit walked with her. And so to me, Mary Magdalene is Ma'at. She is that divine balance. As I said, she had to look at the balance. She had to still, people said what they said about her, and she felt this shame, yet she overcame it through Spirit, through her spiritual practice. And so if I continue to hide it, then it would continue to be my shadow. But
Yeah.
when you bring it to the light, which is bringing it out, bringing it to the light is saying, here, okay, I made a mistake. Somebody else made a mistake towards me. I let it go. I let them go. I want a new life. And guess what? The other part about this is we must forgive the past. There's nothing back there for us, and we have to recognize that right here, right now is where Spirit is speaking to us. Spirit doesn't speak to us about yesterday. Spirit speaks to us forward, you
Mm,
know,
mm,
forward. Spirit doesn't say, oh, go back and try to heal that. No, Spirit says, heal now, heal
yeah.
right now. I'm giving you gifts to move you forward, right? I'm giving you gifts to move you forward. I'm not giving you gifts so you could go back and try to change things. You cannot change them, but you can move forward.
No, that's
And
so powerful and so true. And as you mentioned, it's about forgiving, but also very much about forgiving yourself as well. Because I find that that's a big thing. We tend to hold so much resentment about our own selves that it acts
mm,
as a blockage for us moving forward. So that forgiveness is very powerful in itself. Very.
and so many people are so hard on themselves. Judgment, resentment, shame, guilt, blame, and forgiveness really is for letting yourself recognize that, okay, I made a mistake. I made a wrong choice here. I now can choose forward, you know? And so many, we hold ourselves back by holding on to the shame and the guilt and the fears. Again, this is about the past. But guess what? When a child makes a mistake, or an animal makes a mistake, do we hold that against them for the rest of their life?
Yeah,
No,
no.
because we recognize their innocence. But the thing is, as adults, we think we know everything. And so we
Yeah,
think that we should know better, and yet we don't do better,
yeah,
because our fear self, our ego self, our small self tells us that we're not worthy. And that's
mm,
why the forgiveness is so important, because it reminds us that the fact that we are here and breathing right now lets us know that we are worthy. The fact that our feet are on this ground lets us know that we are worthy. The fact that we woke up today is, I mean, every morning I wake up, I say, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to wake up, because somebody didn't wake up last night.
exactly. Yeah.
Somebody will go to sleep tonight thinking, all right, tomorrow I got to do this. They're not going to wake up. And I
Mm,
know my dreams take me somewhere else. I go, I don't know where I go, but I know I go somewhere else. And so to wake up again and say, okay, Tanya, learn something new. Where are you going today? What's popping? What direction do you want to go in? That's how I know it's a gift. It's a gift every single day.
beautiful. So whereabouts in your journey did Brown Girls Who Bruja come into fruition?
So Brown Girls Who Bruja, let me tell you, first of all, it was Brown Girls Who Tarot. And
Oh,
then we realized that there was another group that was called Brown Girl Tarot. And I said, you know what? I have to change that because she was there first. And so I said, what else can I do? But tarot has always been my love. And so I
Yeah.
said, oh, bruja. I love my brujeria. And that was really when the all the witchy divine feminine things started coming out, and bruja is the Spanish word for witch, and I never identified as witch because witch is a Slavic European word, and so I was like,
Mhm.
I'm not calling myself that.
Mhm.
And so I call myself a bruja. And did you know there's 50 different word over 50 different words for the word witch all over the world?
Wow.
And so again, my librarianness comes out. And so, and so, so yeah, I just stuck with Bruja because I live here in Mexico, and so the Bruja really just came out of my love of the other things that I do. I light my candles every day. I have my crystals. I have my tarot, and so Brown Girls Who Bruja really just came out of me wanting to share more of what I do. And I said, I do share more than tarot. I do. And so we built this beautiful community, my daughter and I. And I have to tell you the truth. Again, I had realized that as it grew, I was starting to move further and further away from myself. I was starting to move further and further away from what I wanted to do because I was like, oh, I've got to keep up with the brujeria. I've got to do this and I've got to teach these
Mhm.
classes. And in truth, I'm writing a book and it has nothing to do with brujeria. I, I am writing a book about tarot and my spiritual journey. And so when the hack happened, and this was actually about a month ago now, a part of me was relieved. A part of me was because I realized that I was trying to please people. I was
Mhm.
I want to say almost there was that imposter Tanya of trying to prove and please and perform, but I'm very simple. I actually am really quiet. And so I was always, oh, I've got to do another post. Oh, I need to do another
Yeah.
video. I need to do
Yeah.
another this. And I said, I don't have to do any of that, And so I know Spirit was saying, we've got other things for you to do, beloved. And so it happened as I just made a post about it happened because it was a blessing in disguise. But at the same time, I allowed it. I allowed it because I wasn't paying attention. I was doing something else. And so I had to forgive myself. This is a perfect example of forgiveness. And we had just hit 72,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
And of course it was a punch to my ego self, but my spirit said, "Isn't this what you asked for?" And I
Yeah.
said, you're right. I need to write this book. I need to focus on other things. I need to focus on, supporting people with tarot and all of that. Because guess what? In Brown Girls Who Brew Up, I never spoke about tarot. I never spoke about the
You
things that
went
I loved the
completely
most.
off the
I went the other way and I was people pleasing. And so right after that, Miana, my beloved daughter, and I said, what else can we do? And so we came up with spiritual womanhood because that's truly what we serve is the spiritual woman, and we want to support it in a way that heals women, that unites us together regardless, because that's really what this other experience is teaching us that's happening out there in the world, is that we have to be united. And this is also why we have to learn our African spirituality, because if we don't know where we come from, we won't know where we're going.
100%. Yeah. And it's so interesting that you brought that up because I was also going to speak to you about the timing of your profile just suddenly going offline. And I remember, I can't, you see, since this whole lockdown, my concept of time is completely out. So I can't remember. There was a time when I saw you put up a post and you said you're kind of moving away from the whole Bruja thing because you feel like that whole, it's become very saturated in popular society and so forth. And I saw that, and I don't know when you put that up. And the next thing you know, your whole profile was gone. So I was like, huh? But then even I thought it's just definitely symbolic of you shedding that. And it's like you released it. And so now I'm hearing you say that. I'm like, that's exactly what I thought happened, and you just said the same thing. So it's like, and now that you've gone back to who you are, so your profile name is literally you. So it's not anyone else. It's like you've come back to core, and I think that's beautiful. And sometimes it does appear as like this big dramatic thing, like, oh no, I've lost, all this effort that you've put into your profile. Obviously, it's got tons of great content, but it is a shedding process. And I feel like collectively right now, a lot of us are going through that sort of change, that sort of rebirth, and things kind of have to fall down and come apart before we can born into something new. So I feel like whatever you're birthing now is going to be absolutely amazing because it's authentically you. So yeah, as you said, it's an ego to hold on to the 72K followers. That's wonderful, but so many
Yeah.
better things are coming your way. You can tell.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was like my ego wanted to fight, my ego wanted to get upset, but I just said, "Okay, spirit, I know you brought this to me. You will take me to the next level."
Yeah.
And because it happened on a Sunday, and I remember I was so clear. I said, "Okay, okay, Obatala, okay, here." I didn't, and I think Miana was more upset about it than I was. She was like, "Oh my God, we've done so much." And I just said, "You know what, beloved? It's time for something new." And so I just totally see it now as that image of the phoenix, the
Yeah.
energy of the phoenix. Just, you've got to go into the darkness. You've got to go and burn away the old so the new can come out. And that's truly what I feel. I haven't
Mhm.
been upset about it because it's followers. It's
Yeah.
followers. Is this a reason for me
Exactly.
to be upset? It's not, they didn't steal my heart. They didn't steal my soul. They took some followers. But I'm still the same person. I still have the same wisdom and the insight and all of that. I'm still getting followers now. They're like, "What happened?" And I'm just like, "It got hacked. No big deal." And they're like, "You're not upset?" What? I'm alive. I am grateful. The sun is shining. How can I be upset about followers? You know,
Yeah.
what was grown will come back. What happens after a fire?
Yeah.
New growth, new energy.
Yeah. And I feel that this energy that's coming now will be you. And that's the thing,
Absolutely.
as you said, you don't want to do something where you feel like you're doing it on a sort of hamster wheel of a reflex. It's not authentically you. And so I agree with that 100%. Like even
Yeah.
people say, why are you not why are you doing more cut out?
There you are.
Are you still there?
Uh-uh. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
good. I thought cut out. So people always saying to us, why don't we do podcasts and, more live videos? And I'm thinking we actually do a lot, and it's been a long time. So if I start putting myself in a place where, oh, I have to talk about this every week, I have to find something new, then I'm going to lose it. You have to be working with passion. Otherwise, it becomes a chore. Then it no longer comes enjoyable. And then I'm not doing it for the love. And
And
for
that's
me,
exactly what I was experiencing.
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I've got to put out my third post today. Oh my God." And so and so wrote me and I've got to write them back. And I was like, "Who are you?" And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh." And I'll tell you, I had people come up to me in the store when my husband and I last year, we went to Mexico City and we were at the museum in Mexico City, and someone came up to me, "Are you Brown Girls Who Bruja?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Wow.
I am." But I was like, "Wait a minute. My name is Tanya."
Why that's true. That's a good one.
I was like, "I'm not Brown Girls Who Bruja. I created it, but my name is Tanya, like know me, not just the
Yeah.
profile." And that's the thing. I felt so many people knew me as the profile. And how it shows up is even though my daughter's name and my name were right there, they haven't found me yet. And they're still there. I just checked before this. And so I was like, they were really just looking for the profile, not the person.
Yeah, that's very interesting and very powerful. That's true. That's
So
true.
the other person's name is there and my picture is still there. My daughter's and I picture is still there. And yet, and our names are, they haven't changed anything. They really haven't changed anything. And yet, and so I
Wow.
said, okay, keep following the profile, but I'm Tanya.
Wow. That's really deep. That's really
Mm-hmm.
deep. Yeah. So I'm not sure how long we've been speaking. I know Instagram cuts out after 1 hour, so we have about 20 minutes left. Is there anything specifically that you feel that you would like to use this platform to say? Because I feel like you've given us quite a lot on your journey. You've explained the sort of transitional process that you're going through now, which I think is really beautiful. I am tempted to avoid the sea conversation, but at the same time, I'm sure people still want to know your thoughts on what's currently going on in the world right now.
I'm so glad you asked. So, this is really an opportunity for us to turn within. You know, we had been so disconnected from ourselves. And I know so many people were keeping up with the Joneses, doing all these different whatever, and nobody was in tune with themselves. And now everybody can't wait to get outside and hug a tree. Everybody can't wait to get back outside and do something. But guess what? This was teaching us turn within, build our communities, learn about ourselves and our ancestors. What is Mother Nature teaching us? And since nobody can go out and be with their religion, now they have to be with their spirit. They have to look at themselves in the mirror because they can't go out. And then other thing is too, how are you being prosperous? How are you being prosperous with yourself? Because so many people think that their prosperity comes from other people. Your
Mm.
prosperity is from you. You have a gift. My husband is an amazing artist. See one of his paintings back there, you know,
Yeah.
and I always, my daughter, she's an amazing actress and singer. And I told her, I said, whatever you have to do, beloved, I will support you. And so she works with me. And then she was, you know, she was in plays this year for the first time of her life. She was on stage performing. She even got to play a woman named Tanya. She was in the Mamma Mia
Oh,
here. That was the
cool.
longest running play. And so I told her, I said, I want you to shine, whatever your gift and talent is. We all have something, you know, to support ourselves. We didn't come here empty handed. We came here
Mm.
glorious. We
Yeah.
came here with gifts to share. Somebody is a great cook. Somebody is great at doing hair. Please hook me up. You know? So no, I'm good. I'm loving it now. You know, and that's one of the other things. You know, one of the biggest spiritual journeys I had was about my hair. You know,
Wow.
truly about my hair, because I was taught, I was conditioned to hate my lion's mane. It was wild. It was crazy. I remember I would have Europeans come up to me, "Oh, your hair, your crazy hair. Who are
Yeah, I've had
you to call me my hair is crazy? I don't know you like that, but you can call my hair crazy."
that.
You know what I'm saying? And
I
so
love your hair, by the way.
learning to love my hair was truly one of the biggest gifts and teachings of myself. And even the woman who gave birth to me, she hated my hair. She hated my hair. She hated everything, but she hated her own hair and she hated herself. And so she shined that mirror onto me. And so
Mm.
this experience is, and you know, it's so funny when I see all the women with, you know, oh, my nails are coming off, my lashes, my hair. Learn to love yourself as is. You didn't come, use what you got. It's all good. You know, just
Yeah,
learn how
yeah.
to paint your own nails, you know, and use a little bit of, you know, go outside, get some sunshine if you can. This is really teaching us to get back to ourselves. Stop
Mm.
depending on somebody else to feed us. Stop
Yeah.
depending on somebody else to teach us. We must teach ourselves and then each other, just like we do our children. Spirit
Mm.
is teaching us, you are our children. The trees, through hurricanes, fires, everything that has happened, earthquakes, comes back, comes back,
Mm.
comes back every single time. There are still diamonds growing out of the ground in Africa, even though they have stripped and raped and pillaged for years, they still grow.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are diamonds.
We are indeed. And it's funny because for me, since this whole situation started, I've been really calm and I've just been like literally going with the flow. And I'm just from the beginning been very consciously aware that this is self-reflection time. I don't have to worry about anything. This is my time to go into my little self-hibernation and really tap into what messages are coming through right now. And there's so many messages, and it's amazing that once you turn off any external sort of distractions, how much internal guidance you receive. So that's been my message to people as well. Just, utilize this time not to dwell on the negative aspect, dwell on the positives. You're getting to spend time with your loved ones. You're getting the time to do all the things you don't normally do. As you said, you can tap into your creativity, develop your spirituality, build that relationship with your ancestors, connect with nature, especially if you have access to a garden or where you live. Where you live seems so beautiful.
Oh,
I
so
keep
we
seeing you
live.
at the sea all the time.
Yeah, yeah. And this was one of my biggest dreams. When I remember I was a single mother, Miana was about to go to college, and I put up a map on the wall. And I said, one of these days, Miana, I'm going to teach yoga all over the world. I'm going to live near the ocean. And she was like, we're on food stamps.
Oh no.
I'm about to go to college. How are you going to pull this off, mom? How are you going to pull this
Oh,
off? And you know what? The most interesting thing was by the time she was in college, and I had by then been to, lived in Spain, lived in Switzerland, lived in all these other places, she was like, how did you do this? How did
yeah.
you totally? And it was because I never gave up. I knew Spirit said, first of all, I'm a triple cancer. So I knew I needed to be near the water. And
Yeah.
so I never gave up. I went to every ocean I could get to around the world. But when I came here to Mexico, amongst all these beautiful brown people, I said, here it is. I know if I had went to Africa, I might have never come back. They would have
Yeah.
been like, you live in Africa now?
But it sounds like you found your place where you're